Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to PM in the PM, Pong and Mav in the PM. Today is February the 10th. And boy, oh boy, do we have a special show for you. Apologize if my mic does get a little goofy tonight for some reason. Despite doing two other shows today, it just decided to getting wonky with me today, right now. So I have tried everything, but we're just going to roll with this. But man, do we have a great show. Huge night. Another big news. It's just been crazy what's going on in this gaming industry right now. And so this is going to be a great night. I am one of your hosts, Pong. Before we get to my other host with me, the man who gave me the captain's chair, we, as you can see, have an extremely special guest this evening. This man needs no introduction, much like Colt Eastwood a couple of weeks ago, but I'm going to give him one. That's right. So this man right here has built the kingdom, otherwise known as Double Barrel Gaming. This man is known as one of the good guys in this community, and rightfully so, as he goes out of his way to give back in so many different ways. He brings and lifts up new voices in this community and gives them a platform to speak, including myself when I was just starting out. This man has gone on to do vlogs, to do many, many shows. He guest appearances. This man is retired and is enjoying every minute of it, speaking about video games.
My favorite passion.
This man goes by many different nicknames, including Mr. Boomstick, or Boom, or co-mayor of Speculation Town, or in a previous life, even Officer Friendly.
Yes.
That's right. The one and the only. The man who needs no introduction, but he is getting one anyways. That's right. Mr. Boomstick is here, and we are happy to have him. So please give him a round of applause, even though we can't hear it because we're on a podcast. But we are actually giving you guys a behind-the-scenes curtain look tonight as three of the co-mayors of Speculation Town gather together and look ahead into the future. But Boom, welcome, sir. Thank you for joining myself and Mav this evening. How the heck are you? Have you been sleeping at all? Have you been playing any games? Because you keep having special shows week after week, which I wind up being on and playing hooky from work. So what's going on with you, Boom? How are you?
Well, first of all, that introduction was awesome. Thank you so much for that. I think Cognito has a challenger. Here comes a new challenger for Mr. Cognito. No, that was very kind of you to say. I definitely appreciate it. Listen, I mean, what could you say? I do find time for games. I wanted to play Crossfire X, and when I went to go play it, only the multiplayer downloaded. I had to download the single player campaign, which I'm going to get to after. Do some recording. I heard that it hasn't been running good. People having trouble launching it. It's look, I'm going to play. I like Remedy. I'm hoping that the game is at least decent. I've been playing, obviously, like you and Steel. I've been playing Dying Light 2, which I've been enjoying, and I'm kind of just creeping my way through. Like, I'm not in a rush to do anything. I'm finding that the chests that are all over the place. I'm going into buildings at night when they're empty and trying to get out before day. Like you guys were saying on your show, you guys got stuck in one of those buildings. But yeah, I'm here tonight. I'm happy to be here. There is a lot of news, and I gotta tell you, if I learned anything, Pong and Matt, from today's special show, is that the community is very, very not only opinionated but very divided on this whole Call of Duty thing. I mean, listen, I hear people when they say, you want to grind Sony into the ground. You want your revenge for all of the kicks in the ribs that we took during the Xbox One generation. I completely understand that, but I think that we have to really remove the emotion out of the conversation and take a step back and look what Microsoft is going to do if this is successful. We are going to win. The Xbox gamers are going to win. We're going to be eating so good that we're not going to know what to play next.
Tell them, Boom.
I understand the emotions. Why should Sony get games that Microsoft paid for? But you also have to look at it from the big business angle. Okay, they're looking to do so many things, and to listen. Whether you people see, that's the thing that's interesting. Most people don't even put a forethought into what brings games into Game Pass. Well, it's called money. And Microsoft isn't going to bleed money forever. Yeah, they're a $2.5 trillion company, but they want to keep that money. That's why they made this purchase, because with the money they're going to be making on and microtransactions like on Warzone alone, which made $5.1 billion last year, appears, by the way, is they're going to be taking that monies and funneling more games into Xbox Game Pass. And your subscription may not even, they may become so big that it doesn't even go up in price. So you got to take a step back, but we're gonna break it down.
We're definitely gonna get into it. Boom, that's for sure. You gave a nice preview of some of the crystal ball that we're looking into this evening. So thank you for that, and again, thank you for being here. It is an honor to have you, sir. Mav, my co-host, the man who runs Fun Speculation Empire Kingdom.
What's up, man?
What's going on, brother? We got to be on a show this morning, thanks to Boom, together.
Yeah.
We have a lot to talk about. We've been in the DMs nonstop, but you, sir, how has your week been? I know you got some real life busyness going on, as we all do. Just what have you been playing? You've been getting down and dirty. I saw with some Dying Light. I was in your stream, but has that been it? Have you maxed out your Crossfire X multiplayer character yet? Have you done the whole season pass? What's going on, man?
Yeah. So no, I have not. I have enjoyed some Dying Light. I mean, you hopped in my stream and seemed like you were having a good time laughing at me.
Of course, I always struggle, do. You know that,
which is great. But yeah, man, I love Dying Light 2. I put on Twitter that like if I had to rate it right now, it would be like a 9 out of 10. Just man, it's a fantastic game. Story is great. The gameplay is solid. It's a very like dense world, just packed full of stuff to loot and do, and it's got co-op as well. That's actually working. You know, hey, you can't ask for too much more. The only things I could ask for more on that was like some optimization, get rid of some of the bugs and stuff like that. But dude, it's already like from the reviews that we saw compared to the day one patch that happened, it's like night and day. It seems like experience from a lot of the reviewers, right? So, man, I'm super enjoying that. But yeah, other than that, I've been still enjoying Rainbow Six Extraction, Halo Infinite. Last night I installed Crossfire X. And I wanted to see.
Is it still installed? Let me ask you that.
Yeah, yes. Just I don't know why, but yes. So in bed last night, I was like, put it on the big screen. You know, I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this a few minutes at least. I'm gonna try and play a couple rounds. You know, see if it's made any improvements since that travesty of a beta I played what seems like forever ago. And let me tell you one thing. The answer is no. It plays exactly like that beta that we all played from the Insider program a couple years ago. And man, it honestly, for me, it even seems kind of worse. I don't know like what it is. So I don't know what they've been doing the last couple years. It's very interesting. I have talked to some people who are like, it's not that bad, but it's rough. Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, I think if you want to try and find some enjoyment out of it, you can, but then I ask myself why? Because there's so many other like free to play games out there that I mean, come on. Like if you have problems with Call of Duty or Warzone, you know, like, hey, the graphics aren't great, or the gunplay isn't great, or this isn't great. Go play Crossfire X for 5 minutes, and then go back and play Warzone. Okay. Like it's a new game at that point. It's like, wow, we stepped into a new generation all of a sudden. I mean, it's just strange, dude. And it's not on Remedy. I think Remedy got hired at a lower point for Remedy. You remember this was after Quantum Break came out, and it didn't do as great as they had hoped for. They took that deal with 505 to do Control. Right, they got Control off the ground with them, and they had, I think, taken a job to do this campaign for this Smilegate game, you know, try and get something out there for them for a campaign in this free-to-play shooter that world that they were working on, right? This game that had already existed in Korea, right? And they were coming out with the sequel. Microsoft's like, hey, this is one of the most played games ever. Let's get behind this. We can bring this. And at the time, again, remember, at the time when Xbox did this deal, they didn't have a whole lot of things going for them either, right? So they make that big announcement, hey, Crossfire X, the sequel to one of the biggest played games in the world, you know, is now coming to Xbox. And it's like, yay, this is awesome, cool. What the hell is Crossfire X? I don't know, right? So we all looked it up, and then we find out there's a beta coming. Cool, we'll try the beta. And they're like, oh, that was interesting. And then comes to find out Remedy is just doing the single-player campaign, which is like a separate thing. Is it in Game Pass? Is it not in Game Pass? Publishing, who's actually publishing and who's not? All this stuff happens. There's no real marketing up to the lead up of the game release. It seemed almost like Microsoft was kind of distancing themselves away from the decision that they made and the contracts that they signed a few years ago at this point. And it's like, now here's the game. They're doing their job, and they kind of have to like put it out there and check all the dots and cross the T's and stuff. But I don't see much happening with this game, man. It's, I don't know. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm not trying to dissuade you. But
gotta try.
Gotta try.
Let me throw this number out here for you guys. $12 billion. That is the revenue that Smilegate got from Crossfire X across the world on PC.
Well,
in 2020, wow. $12 billion
from Crossfire or Crossfire X?
Yes, Crossfire X.
Okay.
The multiplayer. Right, because it's been out for a while.
Well,
right?
So there's Crossfire.
The original, I'm sorry, the original
yeah.
the original Crossfire that was big. Yeah, my fault. Yeah, the original Crossfire, but $12 billion. So I don't know what we're missing. I don't know what again, I don't like to come on and I don't like to criticize devs. I call a spade, like Boom likes to say. At the end of the day, but they do. I'm not in that world, so I know it's an incredibly tough job. But what have they been doing compared, like Mav, like you just said, compared to the beta that we played last year? What have they been doing with this extra time that they've had? Because I don't see. I mean, I see a fraction maybe better in some instances when I'm playing it, but otherwise, I thought they were going to take the criticism and all the feedback that they got from the beta and go back to the drawing board and kind of rework. And they didn't have that much time, but what I'm saying is kind of go back to the drawing board and kind of figure out what, they could improve with, this period that they still had prior to launch. I just don't see it, man. I really don't.
I'm wondering how big of their player base was in China, right?
China and Korea, right?
Because look at this, like at the time, right? You didn't have a lot of these other shooters and stuff in those territories. So, like if a bigger one kind of comes out, you got to kind of take what you can, and there was a lot of generic, like knockoff type games made that were mobile games and all these different generic mobile games. They're like crazy on your phone. There's tons of them, right? You got like blatant knockoffs everywhere, honestly, some of those play better than Crossfire X. It's just one. It's for me. It plays like one of those games.
Yeah,
that just got popular in those regions, and Microsoft tried to look at it, and be like, okay, well, this is a big thing. We can maybe do this at that time, but we're finally now seeing it. It's just I tried to warn people, right? Because Remedy's name is attached to it, so it was obviously driving up some hype. And the campaign may be a little bit better. But as of right now, this weird deal, I can't even install the campaign that's supposed to be in Game Pass. It still says I got to buy it.
Correct. Me too. I'm in the same boat. So
actually, VGC reported on that. A couple of the big publications reported on that Microsoft is investigating why the game isn't launching. I think it's safe to say the game sucks.
The game itself doesn't even want to launch. It's like, no, keep me in here. We got to go back. No, I can't say anything. I played the multiplayer and I was just like, look, this is not it. Like, there's too many other games. There's too many other games to enjoy. There's no way I'm going to put time into this whatsoever. Right. So that was it. I'm still interested in the single player. I'm a Remedy fan, just like Boom. I want to see what they did. I've heard some people that have actually gotten to play it have said, meh, or it's not really good at all. So, again, if this was a side project, if it was not their best of the best that they put into it, I'm still going to try it. I'm still going to see what it's about, but I'm disappointed in that for sure.
Well, I mean, you know what? The writing was kind of on the wall, guys.
I know
when
it was.
You went into it and it was $25 with it was $30 with $5 off. It's basically like, okay, this kind of looks and play. It sounds like it's even less than one of those. Hey, I'm a AA game trying to be a AAA game, but buy me anyway. And I bought it because it's Remedy. I hope that I don't.
Regret.
Because I don't regret most of the stuff I buy because I play it and I whatever. But this came in so hot and under such a mystery tour. There was no advertisement for it, not even on Xbox.
Yeah.
It started out getting pumped pretty hardcore. Remember last year was at all the shows, like everybody was blown away by the cinematics.
That trailer was badass last year.
Trailer was really awesome. And we were like, oh man, this is going to be huge. And then it kind of just slowly drifted away. And all of a sudden it was launch day. Right. And we didn't really see a whole lot. Now we kind of know why they didn't send out early review codes, none of it. But yeah, for me, I've been spending a lot of time in Dying Light 2, especially last weekend, not so much this week with work and everything else, but Dying Light 2 last weekend, Mav and I and Steele jumped in opening night. And then the rest of the weekend, Steele and I were co-oping. I got over 25 hours into it. Absolutely loving the game. Yeah, absolutely loving it. Really a fantastic time. I don't know what the reviewers with the low scores that were talking about bad characters, or awful story. I don't know where they're coming from. Again, it's their personal opinion. I'm just looking at this going, I can name you 1,000 other games that have a whole lot worse story than this. This story is actually entertaining. Yeah, some of the writing could get campy. I've been laughing out loud at someone going, are you kidding me? This is utterly ridiculous. But most of that has been the NPC stuff. There's a couple holes in the story where Steele and I were like, really? How's this working right now? But at the end of the day, I'm still enjoying it. It's got twists and turns. And I was watching Mav's stream and he made completely different decisions than I did in the opening. And his whole story was from a whole different perspective than what mine was. Right. And so that part of it is really cool to see in action. So it definitely has some replayability, but just overall, the game is feeling great. Yes, I would like it to be more than 1080. Of course, it's blurry on my big screen, my 4K. It's blurry at points. The performance issues are unacceptable when it comes to the Series S, especially. But at the end of the day, the bugs, I haven't come across a game-breaking bug. I know some others have. Dealer talked about his openly on RDX the other night. He got a save point that was a respawn with 4 seconds before he dies, and it's an endless loop. He can't get out of it.
Oh my god!
And Techland acknowledged it and said that they're working on a patch. So people have run into those. So if your frustration is there, I totally understand it. But look, the game, again, the development hell that we heard about obviously was real. I think that they didn't have enough time. They had to get this game out after nearly 6 years. So I think that's kind of where we're at with this game. I know that's not acceptable. I know a lot of people say, hey, not going to play it until they fix it. Totally understand. I'm just saying from what I've gotten into here, I'm enjoying the heck out of it. Love the skill system. The skill system actually feels like it does something, which not every game gets that across. When I upgrade a parkour skill, I can tell the difference. And that's what I really like about this game. Some people complain about how fast you progress. I get it. It does feel kind of slow at times, but when it does happen, it's meaningful. And so for me, that still is a winning point. I'm loving Dying Light 2. Hop back into Cyberpunk 2077. Been kicking that around again. About 120 hours in of that. Still have not beat the first time through. Have not beat it. Yeah. I'm enjoying the heck out of that world. And then other than that, just been waiting for some of these smaller games like Edge of Eternity to come out today. So I'm going to hop into that. I downloaded that, obviously looking like a classic JRPG style. Can't wait to try it out. So, but other than that, that's been my week, boys and girls. So, and then otherwise doing shows left and right. Once again, we're on the news train cycle, right? So let's go. Otherwise, go ahead.
Before we get into the topics, can we officially because he's on our show right now, right?
Yeah.
Can we officially congratulate this guy for his 10K on our show.
Absolutely,
as well.
Of course we can.
10.2 now, I think. I mean, you're just already like almost. You're gonna be like 20,000 by the end of this year. Let's go.
You know what? Honestly, I'm skipping over 15 and 20. I want 25. I want the plaque.
25.
25. Okay. There you go. There you go.
Yeah. I want the plaque already. Now, look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. It's been a journey. I look back at some of the peers, and I got here in record time, and that was due to the incredible community. Like, it's them who subscribe, and again, I came into this gig super late. Obviously, I really do think that the content creation game is a much younger man's game. We see a lot of younger guys like you guys coming in, and we're seeing so many of the younger community come up and try their forte in content creation. I had no idea that this was going to go, because when I first started, it was like everyone else. Let's do a video, and let's talk about a game or something, and put up, and it was terrible, and I just happened to kind of fall into it. I don't have all of the training that comes with making advertising and thumbnails and video editing. That's all learned on the fly. So, it's very humbling to have finally hit 10K. It's just something I really wanted to do. And like I said, the one thing I have learned in the short time of doing content creation, because I've only been doing it a little over 4 years, is this isn't for everyone. People don't get into this to make money, because I'm here to tell you, you're not.
Whatever, Boom. You're sitting on a gold throne right now. Knock it off.
Doesn't Xbox pay you? I thought Xbox paid you, right?
My apartment behind me is really just a screen. I'm living in a mansion. I don't want to get.
Yeah.
Boom Kardashian right there, let me tell you.
No, for real though. Boom, congratulations.
For real though, yeah.
Thank you.
You've been you're very welcoming to me early on, right? As well as Pong here. I'm sure he has some things to say, but I got the opportunity to do a lot of different shows early on when I was just getting started with this, and you were one of the ones that was like, man, he's actually gonna let me on his show and talk. You know what I mean? It's like that's cool, and then you get to do it, and you have a lot of people's respect as well, because you're genuine, which is something that's also not as common in this space, right? Genuine and being a real human being and having thoughts that you stand behind because they actually come from you, not purely for clicks and all that kind of stuff. So I appreciate everything you're doing out there in the community, and congratulations, sir.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for that. And listen, look, I've told the story before, and I will continue to tell the story. Pay it forward, people. Okay, do the right thing by others, and obviously things will come back to you. I mean, again, I got into the business simply asking Mooch. I know a lot of people don't dig his way of doing podcasting. People don't like Crossfire. And even if whether you do or you don't, that's really irrelevant. I asked him to join the show as a guest, and he obliged. I got on 1, 2, 3 appearances later. I was a regular panel member, and then I stayed on the show for 2 years. And I promised myself that if I ever had the opportunity to open the door for someone else, I was going to continue to do that, because I think it's incredibly important. See, if I introduce someone today, and the next year they have 1 million subs, and I'm still at 10,000, you know what? Then I did my job, because I gave someone an opportunity, and that's super important. And I think people, I would love to see some of the more high profile guys do it. Dealer does it all the time. He always has people on his show, right? We've seen Colt have people on this show. Randall Thor is always guesting. Him and Jez are always guesting on smaller guys' shows. I've had Miles on the show. So there are some personalities that do it, but you don't really see that coming out from like the big 500,000 subscriber guys. And I don't know if they're worried about, well, if I introduce Johnny Two-Tone and he takes my stuff, then what am I going to do? I understand it's a business, but at the same time, I would rather fail totally and rocket to the head of the class, or do it the mom and pop way, and kind of grassroots and bring other people with me on your journey. Listen, I got to 10K because of guys like you. Pong and Mav, you guys came onto the show. You're an incredible personalities. You have great energy. You have great knowledge. You don't get caught up in the fanboy shenanigans. So you guys helped me get here, along with so many others. So I'm very grateful.
You sound like Phil right there, Boom.
Yeah.
Not taking any of the personal credit. The team.
It is always a team.
Nah, you and Mrs. Boomstick have done so much for this community, Boom. Obviously, you're deserving of everything and more. You should be one of the bigger channels right now, beyond 10,000. 10,000 is a huge mark for anybody, but you should be up there with the 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 people.
One day, maybe. Sure. We'll see.
You will.
We'll see.
You will, man, because your work ethic is second to none, let me tell you. So a lot of us do this fly by the seat of our pants kind of shows.
What are you talking about?
Sir? Yeah, what are you talking about? Yeah, no, Matt, don't even try it, okay? Look. So, but you, sir, do a lot of research. You do a lot of background stuff, and it's incredible, and it comes off. Everybody's got their own way of doing things, but yours obviously has gotten you this far, and it's so impressive. And no, we got to thank you again. Like Mav said, all of us got a platform. Yeah, we were in different places and whatever else, but again, I was a new person. You were a big time show. I just told this. Hey, shout out to both of you, by the way, for awesome interviews with Outbreak podcast. Dave,
good.
who is in the channel right now. Awesome dude. I just had my interview with him last night.
Yeah, Dave's a good dude.
But yeah, I talked about it, Boom. Like when you invited me on your show, I was like, oh boy, that's like 500 people watching at a time. I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. This is going to be crazy, right? So you gave, even though I had been on other shows, even though I had done other things already, I was still new, and you gave me an even bigger platform to talk about this passion that I have, that all of us have in this hobby. So thank you, sir, for everything that you've done. So
no problem.
It has been awesome. All right, gentlemen.
I guess we got to talk about games, right?
We do have to talk about games. First of all, let's talk about the amazing community that's showing up and supporting us in the chat.
Yes,
Boom,
sir.
it's been a long time since you've probably been able to call out everybody in your chat. I see you always trying to keep up just by typing. But Mav and I, we're still a little bit small enough so we can call people out here. So Bold Alpha Wolf Pack, welcome, sir. You were the first person in here. Just Key, of course, brother, great to see you. Miguel Rosales Portillo, please and thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Tony Grasso, what's up, brother? Geezer Prime, of course, always hanging around in here. Who else we got? We got Sean Ham. We got the Fifth Horseman V or 5, depending on if that's a Roman numeral or not. Caitlin, great to see you, my dear. Always. Blackguard, great to see you, sir. You're always hanging out in here. Silent Cypher, who was hanging out in Mav's chat while he was streaming Dying Light 2 the other day and giving him a hard time as well. Silent Cypher is here. Killanitis is in the house. Anime Heaven 23, always good, brother. Maddie Byrnes, awesome member of this community. Great to see you. Psycho Knots, brother. I hope the trip is going well, sir. We will see you soon. And who else we got in here?
Sean
Let's
Ham.
go through this.
Yeah, Sean Ham.
I did get Sean Ham.
Right
What just happened, of course, is hanging out with us. Nico is hanging out with us. Let's see. Everybody's chatting so much. OCDgamer. Elvin is here. Joe Dunmore is in the house. I can't do it right. Nobody can. Only the mag can. But Steele really tries on our show.
Joe Dunmore. No, that sucks.
There we go.
Really bad.
Nola Origins is here. Shizno Elite, great to see you, my friend. Always chatting it up in here. Toolman 55, of course, a regular. Let's see. We're gonna have to start getting people like seats, like reserved seating in here.
Man.
Expert, what's going on, Expert? Great to see you. Artie M, always hanging out in the chats. Boogeyman is in the house. Masshole 1977. Big Mad Mo is here as well. Great to see, oh man, all these familiar faces. Jasper Gaming, Debbie Downer is in the house to make sure that we don't get too hyped. Make sure, Jasper, if we say anything that's way too crazy, you just tell us how it's really going to be.
Realist.
Okay, brother? Yeah, he's the realist. He's also the lore master too. BFG, great to see you, sir. I saw you earlier today in the chat coming through with big opinions. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Great to have you here. I've got somebody in Russian that I cannot in any way, shape, or form say your name. But you are not one of the people that comes in here and drops those random letters and numbers and all that kind of stuff. So thank you for being here. I apologize, I can't say your name. Relzer 00 is in here. Who else we got?
Craig Ravish, who's that guy?
Crack Rabbit. I don't know. KhAos
idea.
I shouted you out earlier. Great to see you here. Mr. Joanna Dark, of course, brother, you are always around. Stuff Sean, you are always in here. General Spartan 27, of course. KhAos Outbreak Podcast.
Man, that's a lot of names, dude.
There's a lot of names tonight. Victor Click, of course, is hanging out. He's probably having a nice cocktail while he does so. Yeah. Always like Victor Click. Joe Dubs 35 just jumped in here. Good to see you. Brandon X, we believe in generations. Okay.
His name.
Yeah, his name. It says it all right there. All right, so let's get down to business. Brothers, big news coming out of Microsoft in the corporation itself. I mean, we're not talking about just the gaming division here. We're talking about higher ups coming out, specifically Sam Smith, and talking about this acquisition, kind of getting ahead of the curve. Here's the deal. First, we should probably go over rules of engagement for the chat. I've been noticing, I noticed it in Booms. I noticed it in even Boxenbergers today when I did his show. This topic is bringing out a lot of people. Okay.
A lot of emotions, dude.
A lot of emotions. And we understand that this is a divisive topic, but we're not going to put up with the nonsense. We do have plenty of mods in there. So please feel free. If anybody does get out of line, we're not going to have it here. Discussion is discussion. Big opinions, even if they are the opposite of what we have, is fine, but we're not going to get personal. Unfortunately, this topic today has seemed to bring out the bad in a lot of people. So let's just keep it cool in there, have great discussions, bring opinions, bring, different points of view. We love it all. Just let's keep it civil. If you hear something that you don't like, or if somebody else is talking about something in there that you don't like, please. Mav and I, that's the community that we're building here, much like Boomstick. So that's what we want to have happen. So I just wanted to put that out there before we get into it. Look, let's start here. We're going to start with the Axios article that Mav was nice enough to put in the DMs today. And this is kind of outside of what the Activision Blizzard, but it all makes sense. It all comes together into one big piece, because a lot about what we're going to talk about tonight, especially in Speculation Town and Boom, I think Speculation Town is going to be growing so much over these next years in this generation. You might have to be put into the governorship. Okay. Yeah. We might have to remain mayors, but you might have to be the governor, because this town is about to explode in popularity. So we might have to make that move here sooner than later. But again, we're going to start with this article. It's by Axios. It's by Ashley Gold, and it's titled "Microsoft Proclaims Support for a More Open Gaming Future." Yeah. Again, this subject is a lot about what we're going to be kind of forecasting about, and looking down that road where they're going. So I just want to start here. I'm going to read this article real quick. It's kind of broken up. It's not very long, so I'm just going to go through it here, and then we'll start with Boom and see what he feels about this specifically. Microsoft executives are warming up regulators to their proposed acquisition of gaming giant Activision Blizzard in Washington by pledging a future that includes an open universal app store. Again, hear that. This is important. By pledging a future that includes an open universal app store. Universal app store, okay? Driving the news on Wednesday, Microsoft announced a set of open app store principles the company says will apply to the Microsoft Store on Windows and the next generation of its game marketplaces. That's plural, marketplaces. We have developed these principles in part to address Microsoft's growing role and responsibility as we start the process of seeking a regulatory approval in capitals around the world for our acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Say that 5 times. Microsoft President Brad Smith wrote in a blog post why it matters. The company is trying to sell its proposed $69 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard by committing to principles of oh boy, they really got me tonight. Interoperability in app stores and across devices as lawmakers consider proposals that would change how app stores operate. Again, everybody out there in the chat who may not be aware, there's a lot going on. The Apple Epic fight started this, and this is going to be continuing because the regulatory commissions are starting to look at these closed ecosystem like Apple that seem very predatory in some ways, don't allow other 100%. Apps, don't allow other stores to come in and join in the fun. There's a lot of investigation going on and thoughts that they are going to be regulating these things heavily come into the future. So that's why I just bring that up real quick for anybody who doesn't know why we're reading this. What they are saying, the Activision Blizzard acquisition is what has brought us to Washington, D.C., Smith told reporters in a briefing, along with CEO Satya Nadella and Xbox corporate vice president, Sarah Bond, everyone's favorite. We're more focused on adapting to regulation than fighting against it. More focused on adapting to regulation than fighting against it. The games industry structure, rules, and business model was set on a paradigm when we used to buy physical games, said Bond. That should change. It has put the device at the center of the experience. We think it should be the player at the center. Again, sayings that they've been talking about for a very long time. They are now
you've heard that, Pong. You've actually heard Sarah Bond herself say that it's important to put the player. Phil has said that numerous times.
Numerous times. It's about their philosophy change that's going on. The Federal Trade Commission is reviewing the deal in the U.S. Smith said the deal will require approval from 17 regulators globally. 17 different regulators have to approve this globally. 7 of those principles center around security, privacy, quality, safety, accountability, and fairness and transparency. That was more than 7, wasn't it? It sounded like. And the company says it's committing to those principles starting today. The 4 remaining principles would change how developers use app stores by not requiring developers to use Microsoft's payment system. Wow. Not giving its app store more favorable terms, not disadvantaging developers who use a different payment system, and not preventing developers from communicating directly with customers. The company said it would commit to closing the gap on the remaining principles over time. Between the lines, over the last year, Microsoft has been increasingly vocal about expanding its gaming services to as many platforms and devices as possible. But when it comes to platforms like Apple's tightly sealed iOS, some may only open up through legislation. Putting marketplaces on tightly guarded platforms is what sparked Epic's lawsuit against Apple. That's exactly what I just talked about in the opening here. What I reminded everybody. The Open App Markets Act, recently approved by the Senate Judiciary Committee, would cement many of these principles into law. Smith said Microsoft wants to be on the right side of history by committing to such principles before and whether the bill becomes law.
So that means that even if it doesn't become law, they're already committing to this.
They're committing to this ahead of time, right? They are out in front being the good guys. If you listen to Boom's show this morning, you might have heard me say that, the good guys. Be smart. Microsoft didn't actually announce a new app store, only the principles it would use to guide a hypothetical one. The thought bubble from Axios Gaming, Stephen Totillo. So this is his thoughts on it. Microsoft included a crucial caveat in today's briefing, acknowledging that all these principles don't currently mesh with the existing Xbox Game Store, but would over time. Microsoft justifies the current model, which grants Microsoft 30% take of Xbox Store revenue, which is the same as what Sony takes on the other side, same as Nintendo, same as Nintendo, same as everybody.
Standard price,
30%. As 30% take of the Xbox Store revenue, as one based on consoles being sold at a loss. For what it's worth, Sony said it already profits from PS5 sales. So again, Xbox is just stating, hey, we take a loss on the consoles. So, the 30% cut is in kind of relation to that we get that some of that money back. We recoup it through the store. In a new store, developers would someday be able to choose to use Microsoft's payment system and other services such as streaming tech or not. We're going to evolve the business model to support how much of the functionality we're providing them that they adopt, Bond said. Huge stuff in here. That's the end of the article. This is a big change. This is, again, it's not specifically about Activision Blizzard, but it's a part of the Activision Blizzard deal because they themselves, it's been talked about when it came to this deal that through the regulators that they might have to give in some areas, right? Yep. That they might have to give some concessions to get this deal to go through. From what it sounds to me, and I'll let you guys speak on it, but they're giving concessions up front because they see a different future than the one they're currently running right now. They already have plans to move forward in a different direction than maybe the usual model that has been used for a very long time at this point. Boom. When you hear this stuff about the marketplace, you hear about them opening up the app store and wanting to create universal type, stores, allowing other payment forms to come into play, which has been a huge no-no when it comes to app stores, right? You know, when you log into an app store, you're using that payment method that's there, right? That's it. Giving this kind of freedom and kind of opening it up and even giving more freedom to the developers, which we've known in the past, Xbox has been all about being able to communicate directly with their customers, all that kind of stuff. What does this say to you, Boom? Not just in the context of Activision Blizzard acquisition, which is obviously a major first step, but what does it say to you about where Microsoft is going here?
Well, I mean, I think the writing has been on the wall for quite some time, right? How long has it been Microsoft has had Microsoft and its fans had their balls broken about being able to play your Xbox game on another device? How many podcasts were we in where people were all up in arms about that?
Too many.
Way too many. I mean, I go back all the way to Crossfire when I first started, and that was like a major, oh, I can't believe it. Crap gamer. He actually got into a pissing match with Phil Spencer on Twitter back in 2017, where he said he was now not buying the game because you could play it everywhere else. And Phil actually responds and said, that doesn't make any sense. And he cut him down like a tree. And Phil was right. Listen, folks, the thing is this. You can say whatever you want about Microsoft being the good guy and, kumbaya Phil, but you know something? You could play your Xbox game anywhere you want. You could play on your phone, you could play on your tablet, your pewter, your console, your refrigerator, wherever you want to play it, you can play that game using the cloud. This is something that Sony does not do. Sony is just now allowing older titles to get onto PC because they smell the money. Not because they're doing it because they want to give back to their community. And Nintendo, well, listen, I'm a Nintendo stan. I'm the reason why there's so many problems because I'm an asshole, pardon my French, and I keep going buying these remasters, even though I own it for the Wii U. So I know that I'm a part of the problem. But here's the thing. Gaming is changing, and you know something? Microsoft is at the cusp. They are leading the charge, and I absolutely love to see it. Sony, years behind. Nintendo, decades behind, honestly. And you know something? They're going to be a better company for it. And you know who wins? Gamers like us win, because when and again, I know we're going to get into it after. I said this in the private chat, when we were talking in the green room, I honestly was so blown away by how many people in the chat were up in arms over the whole Call of Duty thing. Like, I mean, take your emotions out of this conversation and let's look at the big business picture here. Let's take the big man pants and put them on for a hot second and look at the big picture. Because if Microsoft doesn't do what they're doing, this deal is never going to get done. That's a fact. I mean, Satya Nadella came out there and said, hey, listen, we're not doing anything wrong. We're still number 3. But they still want this deal to come through. And it is a big deal. And having all of the, like, for instance, changing the way that they do business is gonna put pressure on Sony. It's going to put pressure on Nintendo. It's going to put pressure on Apple. It's going to put pressure on Google. It's putting pressures on everywhere. And you know something? Who better to lead the charge than Microsoft? Because they're already coming out and saying, hey, listen, we're going to do things differently and we're pledging this. Well, that's listen, you got to butter your bread if you want nice toast, right? So there you go. I mean, I don't know how else to put it, but this is an exciting time. This is an exciting time to see a company that almost wasn't. Xbox was almost out of the picture, snatched from the jaws of defeat, right? Thanks to Phil Spencer. And now, and this is crazy to say, this is where you really think, now you think we're in crazy land. Xbox gaming is as important as Windows. If you would have tried to sell me that 10 years ago, I'd have said, you're bananas. you're freaking crazy. There's no way that video games, even though I'm a video game since the 70s, there's no way I would have ever imagined Xbox gaming could be on the cusp of neck and neck with Windows. I mean, that's bonkers. So seeing them do this with the stores, and I got to be honest with you, if Cotton McCass was here, he'd say it's a bold move, Cotton. It's a bold move because think about it. They with the article, with that blog post, they kind of threw Google and Apple under the bus there, man. I mean, they really did, and they've already sided with Epic. We saw that during the whole lawsuit thing. So I don't know. I mean, I think that they're doing some things for the industry that we never thought that would ever get done, and it just so happens to be at the same time where they need a favor. So it's kind of like wash my hands and I'll wash yours, kind of a thing.
Yeah, absolutely, and I agree with you, Boom. And obviously, again, this isn't set in stone, right? This is a lot that's being worked on right now. There's a lot to happen between here and there. That's what Microsoft is starting to do. It could all fall apart at some point. Something could come in and throw a complete monkey wrench in all these plans, right? It certainly could happen. But at the end of the day, Microsoft is making the moves necessary to get to the future that they see, which is a more, whether you believe it or not, Microsoft does want to dominate. Okay, that's business, right? Microsoft wants to reach 2 billion, 3 billion people. They want to be the ones to do it. But they understand that they don't have to be the bullies anymore, that they're coming at it from a completely different direction because that bully stuff doesn't work anymore.
Nope,
they now come. 90s. It's not the 90s anymore. And they got slapped around in the 90s for doing it. And they got a black eye and they got a bad name. And a lot of the stuff that goes around about Microsoft and Xbox is because of that past history. Yep. The new Microsoft, we talk about the new Xbox all the time, but the new Microsoft led by Satya is an open arms, right? They want to welcome people in. They want to just bring everybody together and try to make it work however they can do that because they believe they are the ones to do that, right? And this open app kind of policy is one of the first steps that they're taking towards that. And if they're going to cut fees, if they're going to open up their own apps, they're going to lead by example. And that's what they want to do right now. Mav, when you hear this stuff, when you read this article and you heard the open app stuff, and all their kind of, again, the universal talk, that's been out there now for a while, and putting the player at the center of everything. And we've heard Satya talk about the metaverse and his vision, and all those key kind of phrases, those prime words in business right now. What do you think about this, Matt? Where do is this the right first step? Do you think that they're playing and then they're going to turn around and screw everybody over? Or do you think this continues and they are true and serious about what they've got here?
Well, first off, you got to think about it. Everybody talks about meta and they talk about the future and all this stuff. Well, somebody's got to create the systems in place to be able to even have that function properly, right? And you're talking about digital distribution completely changing and the ecosystem completely involving all these different brands, all these different storefronts, all these different things into one ecosystem, right? Into one functioning place that people can have choice and option. That's what all these big tech companies are after right now. And Microsoft is just the first one to be out in front of this, like they've been out in front of the cloud. So they're putting all these pieces in place. Like these companies don't just do this stuff on a whim. Like this is plans and years of thought and thinking and trying to figure out what's the future of tech going, right? Because we can't just rely on our PC and Windows. In the future, stuff's gonna be more obsolete and more irrelevant, right? Like you got to think about where it's going, and it's going in the cloud. It's going in server-based services hosted by big tech, right? That's just the way the world is functioning. Media distribution and all of these things, right? Gaming is a piece of that, right? But gaming, because of the social engagement and the social interaction that it involves, is the forefront of what is pushing that tech forward, right? So it is a huge focal point for Microsoft, and one of the reasons they're willing to drop $70 billion on this move. And when they went and made that announcement, right, what did they say? This is these articles from like actual financial articles and stuff, and even Xbox themselves. This is about meta. This is about the future of entertainment, digital distribution, and the future of gaming. We are beyond the plastic boxes in the mindset of Microsoft, right? They are still going to make them where everybody's saying, I don't even need an Xbox anymore. Like, what the hell? You know, come on, really? You know why you need an Xbox? Because it's a badass piece of equipment to access the ecosystem, right? Like, for me, it's the best place to play because everything works really well within that. And all of this stuff will exist within hardware that you choose to buy. You can choose to buy a PC. You can choose to buy an Xbox. You can choose to buy a PlayStation. You can choose to buy a Nintendo or whatever it is. In the future, potentially, you'll have access to all of it within whatever device you choose. That's the future that they see. And that's what they're trying to push forward here and get at the ground floor of. And $70 billion acquisition here by them accelerated that. And everything that they have been saying leading up to this now, with the regulatory stuff, with the plan for the open storefront, they're going to be inviting people in, scalable revenue sharing, depending on the amount of services that you're going to be using, is all next level stuff. We wouldn't have been talking about this 10 years ago. We were still just buying discs and putting them in our disc trays. This is the future. 10 years from now, think about the possibilities, what we're going to be doing. And then think back to 10 years ago. 10 years ago, what were we doing? Look at what we're doing today. We're playing on phones, TVs, PCs, gaming, all the same game, cross-save, progression. You don't even need it. You don't need a disc. You don't need any of that stuff. 10 years from now, what is it going to be? Put yourself in that, right? Can you foresee what it's actually going to be? And then when you think about the future and what is it actually going to be, and you might feel stupid arguing about, oh, these guys get to play the game that I get to play. These guys get to play something that I get to play. That's not fair. Who cares? You get to play it. You get it for a very reasonable, cheap value in $14.99 a month. And the more people that buy into that, the better. Man, I get to get to a couple of these super chats real quick. Then I want to touch on something because this is a very good question that was asked on Twitter earlier, and I want to touch on that. Shout out to Phoenix Mune Gaming with a $5 super chat. It says, Warzone will be turned into Minecraft and Mainline becomes Game Pass exclusive. Microsoft will have their cake and eat it too. Who knows? We will see. Bold Alpha Wolfpack. $10 super chat. Very appreciative. Thank you so much. He says, if Activision remastered or even direct ported a lot of their Marvel games like X-Men Origins, Wolverine Uncaged, or Spider-Man Web of Shadows, that would be huge. Be motivator to purchase the Game Pass. Yeah, it would be. We'll see what the licensing entails for all of that kind of stuff. That would be the key there. Jerrold Mack, member for 2 months. Appreciate you, dude. He says, listen to the show while on a long road trip. Well, dude, I hope you're driving safe, man. But yeah, the future is not about boxes. Get out of your mind this boxes, right? You can still buy a box. Like Xbox has already said, they're working on the next iteration of boxes, right? They're working on hardware, right? They still say this because they want to give you that option of a piece of equipment to play your stuff, right? It's just a device to access the ecosystem, whether that's on a PC, on an Xbox, on a phone, or it doesn't matter. Now, the question is, multi-platform. Why would they do this and go multi-platform? Money. Xbox wants money. Microsoft wants money. And at the end of the day, scalable business is going to be exponential. The more content you have, based on the more people that you have, the more people that you're going to be able to bring into your service. Now, think about this. Okay, this question was asked, do I think that games being multi-platform will drive more players to Game Pass or exclusive? Now, the easy answer here is exclusive, because you would think, well, if it's only on the service, then obviously that's going to be the only place to buy to get the game. But then you got to think about bigger picture, right? You draw a line in the sand and you have this one ecosystem here and this one ecosystem here, right? At some point, these people, you got to think 10 years ago, right? How many games are you like really care about that existed? If it's not on your platform of choice, if it's not on your box of choice, right? You're playing here. You're comfortable with the ecosystem. There's plenty of content to have. You're going to be fine, right? PlayStation gamers right now that only play on PlayStation, do you think they care too much about Halo? Maybe some of them do. Maybe some of them don't, right? Call of Duty could become that. It's not ironclad. if it became only exclusive, there's no telling what it would happen to it in the future if you limited it to one ecosystem, right? But if you put it everywhere, keep its name relevant to the masses everywhere, everybody can enjoy this game, but it's more expensive here. And I love this thing because I've been playing it on this device. I've been playing it for years and years and years, but I'm getting sick of paying $70 for it, like when I could pay 15, right? Like, you want to subscribe to that service, and maybe in the future you'll be able to do it on that device that you're playing on. That's what it's all about. It's about a different future than we can even wrap our heads around because we've been stuck in the same model since the dawn of gaming.
Can I add something to this amazing comment that you're just making? Because when you look at us on the panel, when you look at the people in the chat, we're the hardcore. Right?
Yeah.
We own multiple consoles. We go out and buy Funko Pops of our favorite character. I got an energy sword made of metal that Mrs. Boom got me from Halo. I got a whole bunch of toys over here. We're the hardcore. We're the minority. We're the loudest, right? But the minority is the hardcore. The same group of gamers that powered Sony's PlayStation 4 to 116 plus million consoles are the 85% of those people, of those gamers, those casual gamers, make up that 116 million. Okay, if you want to lowball me here and just say for S&G, let's just say 80%, right? We'll give 20% to the hardcore and we'll keep the normies at 80%. Those normies, those casual gamers, they buy 3 games a year: Call of Duty, NBA 2K, Madden. Every now and again, you throw a Spider-Man in there or a Wolverine game because the MCU is hot. I'm telling you right now, if you are going to try and pitch to me that someone is going to go out and spend $76.43 here in New York for the next Call of Duty, when the guy over there is playing for $15 a month, you are a lunatic and you're full of it. I'm going to tell you that right now, right to your face. You are full of S. Those same gamers are going to look at their PlayStation 4s and 5s and be like, you know what? I've had enough. And I'm going to trade it in, and they're going to get a little man because they don't care about 1080p's and 1440p's and all that other stuff. They just want to play their favorite game on a TV that's probably not even 4K, or at least a real for bells and whistles C1 or something, right? They just want to play their Call of Duty, and they're going to get little man because they don't have time for discs. They just want to they just want to download the game and play. And I'm telling you right now, Microsoft is setting up the Series S to be $250 this holiday. Mm-hmm. Just imagine how many people are going to move over. It's going to be just like what happened with the Xbox 360 to the PS4. Now Sony's going to wind up being the one getting the short end of the stick. That's a fact.
The money's not in the boxes. It's in the it's in the purchases in the ecosystem. They don't care if you don't have to buy a box. They don't want you to have to be able to buy a box.
For one Call of Duty game at $76.43 here in New York, man, if you get 5 months of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate.
It's crazy, right? That's why they keep lowering the barrier of entry. Yeah. You know? And lowering the barrier of entry into gaming is what Xbox has been all about since Phil Spencer took over. Yep. Right? And lowering the barriers, getting rid of all these gates, right? These unnecessary access points of oh, hey, you're allowed to play in here over here. Okay, you're cool. You bought this $500 box, right? You're good. So we'll sell you a game, right? That's so 1995. No, I mean, it's seriously though. I mean, with technology where it is, like you said, a service like that, what it's done for movies and TV shows and all this kind of content that we get now, it's happened to gaming, right? And we're gonna have this shared world, and this app that they're talking about, this new storefront, is the key to drive all of that success, and that's what it's all about. They want this to go through. They want this regulatory thing to go through because they want that app. They want to be the good guy, and they want to be the one company that has like 90% of market share of all storefronts out there, and they're only making a small cut of it, right? Like instead of as isolated smaller portion, they're making 30%.
And there was a rumor that they were going to lower it down to like, I think 12 or 18 or something like that. They were going to lower it. I wouldn't be surprised if they're the first ones to do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, Look, Pong, you, man. Go ahead.
Here's the deal. So yeah, no. Yeah, bro, you know how this goes. So this is what it's all about here. Let me address a couple things here. See a lot of people in the chat thinking that we're invalidating their feelings as an Xbox fan. That's not the case. Okay, that's not the case at all. I understand why Xbox fans who have been through the mud, who have weathered the storm for generation upon generation, or I should say one generation, last generation, right? Came off the 360 on a high. Okay, I understand why you may feel slighted by this. Okay, but we're not invalidating anybody's feelings. You can feel slighted by that. There's a lot of jaded people in this community. Okay, I've seen it firsthand. This is why I don't pledge allegiance to one or the other. This is why I always look out for myself first when it comes to purchasing something, whether it's a console, whether it's a car, whatever the case may be. I always look for the best value for me. Again, last generation, 360, Xbox had me. I was a 360 all the way. I had a PS3 for all the JRPGs and all that kind of stuff, but I was Xbox 360 all the way.
$600 for that PS3.
Yeah, that's where I mained, right? Was my 360, right? That was everything. I was ready to buy an Xbox One until their messaging and their marketing came out and absolutely destroyed all my hype for it. It was against everything that I was thinking about at the time. It was not what I wanted. PlayStation turned around, scrapped all their plans, came out with clear messaging, and I was like, I'm going PlayStation first this gen. Xbox won me back later in the gen when Phil took over. Game Pass came out and they started showing me real value and real care. But for the people who have stuck by Xbox this entire time, I feel for all of you. You guys have had mud slung. You guys have been beaten up, especially if you were in this community. I wasn't a part of this community back then, but I've heard the war stories. I can only imagine what it was like when PlayStation was absolutely dominating, because I saw some of it and I still see it today with the circus and the clown show out there. Right? I still see what it's all about. So I do feel for you. And I understand why you want Xbox to come back and dominate.
Oh, he's got the guns out now.
Here's the deal. What this is about, what we're talking about here is that we all have to remove ourselves from our individual bubbles that we are in, that we wind up finding ourselves locked in, and understand that this is not a scorched earth scenario anymore. I've seen some of the media call it, we're in a what do you want to say, a nuclear war at this point, where everybody's everybody's building up their arsenals at this point, right? We're back to a Cold War like back in the days with US and Russia, right? And everybody's going out and buying IPs and buying publishers, and this consolidation. That's all this is. This is not a scorched earth type scenario. What we're all trying to tell you here is, and again, you can go find other podcasts who probably disagree with us. Mm-hmm. We had people on Boom's show today that we're in somewhat disagreement, that we need to wait and see. Right?
I was literally in a conversation with D-Batch, who's been getting it over the head. Correct. Because he watched the show and he's like, boom, you guys hit it on the head. He goes, I don't understand how people look at this and be like, it's Microsoft. They don't need to make their money back. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Right. But their plans go beyond that, right? And so let me tell you this too, for the people who feel slighted by Xbox, the exclusivity is not going away. Okay, there's going to be exclusive games. So if your sole focus is on Call of Duty, or when we be talking about, we think that Diablo is probably going to be cross-platform, or cross-platform, or Overwatch 2, or whatever the case may be. But if your sole focus is one of those games, and that you want to see that as exclusive, that your box, your favorite company now owns it, and that you are going to have the right to play that, and others are going to have to come over and join you. Okay, that I understand if that's where your mentality is at, if that's what you believe. But here's the deal: exclusives are not going away. Xbox, just before this whole deal went down,
all we were doing, and I think most people in the Xbox fan base would agree that Xbox was on the golden path, that the ZeniMax deal, that all the, Starfield coming over exclusive, that all this stuff being exclusive was going to be fantastic. They were doing everything right by the Xbox community. This purchase here does not change any of that. This acquisition here doesn't change what Xbox is doing for their customer base at all. Sure, might not be all the titles that you thought were going to be exclusive when they made this deal. They might not be exclusive, but at the end of the day, you're still going to wind up with a gigantic truckload of content for your $10, $15 a month service fee for a Game Pass. You're going to wind up with a truckload of content that can't be found elsewhere other than PC, mobile, or wherever Game Pass is at. You're still going to have all of that exclusive content available to you. It's just that Microsoft here today with this acquisition is making a much bigger play. It's a much bigger future that they're looking at and what we're trying to explain here. And again, we could be totally wrong. This is speculation town. We are not saying this is 100% what's going to happen. They could come out and totally flip-flop, which we don't think is going to happen because there's regulatory problems when you do that. But what we're saying here is that it's still wait and see at the end of the day. But what we're trying to do is see where Microsoft and Xbox are going at this point. And it's a much bigger future. According to myself, Boom, and Mav, we're all on the same page here. Microsoft is looking to make an all-inclusive, accessible entertainment metaverse at the end of the day. In order for that to happen is what this article is talking about. Xbox is going to have to lead the way. Microsoft is under different scrutiny. Whether you think it's fair or not doesn't change the fact they hold a different light when it comes to these types of acquisitions and these types of deals because of who they are, because they are one of two richest companies in the world, depending on your stock price. Okay, that's going to put them underneath a different microscope than a Sony. And that's the way of the world. That's business. It does not matter how we feel about it. It just is what it is. So Xbox and Microsoft are trying to lead the way to this future where they are the gatekeepers, right? Not in the sense of closed gates, but in the sense of wide open gate where all these different ecosystems, all this different entertainment content is hosted in one place where you can have access to it no matter where you are in the world, no matter what you're playing on, no matter what you're watching on, no matter what you're doing, you're going to have access to all this content. And that's their big future play that they want. This is going to bring benefits to the Xbox consumer directly. Because again, as I said on Boom's show today, all of this stuff that they're doing, these concessions, as people are putting it, that they're making up front, leads me to believe that they're setting themselves up as one of the good guys because they're not done yet. They're going to go get more people. They're going to go get more publishers. They're going to get more developers. They're going to do all of that. They're going to continue to grow this because that's the future that they want. And again, this App Store content here, they're opening up and saying, hey, we are not just going to we're just not going to talk about it right now and tell everybody, hey, we'd like to see this wonderful, future like Speculation Town where there's rainbows and unicorns and all this stuff all the time at 75. We're not just going to talk about it. Hey, guess what? We're going to be the leading example of it. And we're going to go ahead and march forward before all of you do. So you can see that we're serious about this. And we want you to all come follow along with us because it's going to mean better for everybody in the long run. But we're not going to just tell everybody that they should do it. We're going to go ahead and do it ourselves. And we're going to show all these regulators, the 17 across the world that they have to get approval from, that when they start looking at Microsoft and Xbox for their acquisitions and all these big purchases, they don't have to pay attention because we're starting to dictate the brighter, the better future for everybody involved here. We're not the bad guys. We're not going scorched earth here. We're not looking to shut out Sony. We're not looking to shut out Nintendo. That might have been the way the game was played back in the day. Maybe Sony did have a hand in killing off Sega in their console business. Maybe Sony was looking to scorch earth us, but we're not going to do that. Why? Because we see a better future ahead. And that includes Sony and Nintendo. That includes the gaming industry that we've helped grow to this point. We want to grow even further. That's where Microsoft is coming from. And that's what we're talking about here is, again, we could all be wrong. I have no doubt about that, right? This could all change tomorrow, right? One more comment out of the blue could change our whole perception of this. But we're certainly not trying to invalidate people's feelings out there. I understand where the hardcore Xbox fans come from when it comes to the emotional side of things. I would tell you personally, I think it's a waste of emotion to get wrapped up in it like that, because like Mav and Boom have both pointed out, other people getting to play Call of Duty isn't going to affect you. You get to still enjoy it for your monthly Game Pass subscription. And even if you don't want to subscribe to Game Pass because you're one of those people that still loves physical, you're still going to be able to go out and buy it for $60 versus maybe Xbox and Microsoft keep it at 70 over on Sony's side, right?
That would be crazy. So I don't know if they'll get
it
away
would be
with
crazy.
that.
I don't know if they'll do that. But anyways, my point being is that you still have options, right? You still have options. You can still make choices yourself as a consumer. You are a fan of something. I understand. We do this with sports too. Look, I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan. Okay, been through the.
I'm sorry.
One of the worst, most cursed franchises in NFL history. I understand what it is to live with disappointment over and over and over again. Okay, so don't get me wrong. I get where you're coming from. You went through a hard generation. We're just trying to tell you, see the future right now. Yeah. Look at the future. Xbox and Microsoft are going to be leading the way. That is going to mean better for us. It may feel like they're trying to play to other people and they're trying to give concessions and they're trying to give Sony stuff, and Sony's still locking down exclusives and all that kind of stuff. Again, we're starting to see a change. Again, people somehow in this community just forgot that just a week ago, we watched Sony pay $3.6 billion to keep Destiny multiplat. Okay, that's not the Sony of old. Had you asked any of us in this panel a month ago if you would have told us, hey, Sony's going to buy Bungie, is Destiny going to be exclusive? Our answers would have been, yeah. There's no way in heck that they're
future
things.
Games.
Correct.
Yeah, well, even
Bungie
the new
themselves
IP that they're working on, too, which is even more surprising.
Correct. Yeah. That's what they just did. So this is having an effect already. And again, no invalidation. You can have your feelings. You can be wrapped up in your emotions. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just here to tell you, look at the big picture. When this deal goes through, Call of Duty may not be a yearly experience anymore. It might be every 2 to 3 years. That makes it less important. Now I got into Activision Blizzard. We weren't supposed to go here yet. But anyways, what I'm trying to tell you is that you're still going to get exclusives out of this. You might even get some new exclusives from old IPs that we never thought we would have had. And I would ask the people who really are upset about this or who are really feeling, let me ask you this. If it's not Microsoft and Xbox stepping and buying Activision, who is it that you want to do that? Who out of the companies that have $70 billion to lay down on the table, who would you rather have control over the Activision Blizzard IP other than Microsoft, Xbox? And if you say no one, well, then what would you like to see happen to Activision Blizzard? Because let me tell you, there's a time and point where Activision Blizzard has to maybe fall and crumble underneath its own weight. And then that means a lot of people are out of jobs. A lot of those IP get broken off and sold off to everybody and anybody and their brothers and sisters. We don't know what's going to happen to it. So who else would you rather have make this deal? And if it means that Call of Duty, Diablo, Overwatch 2, all of those wind up on multiplat, at the end of the day, how is it going to affect you personally? How is it really going to change your gaming habits? Is it? Again, there's options. If you don't like the direction of Xbox, you have choices as well, right? We all do. We all have choices. I've decided not to buy Nintendo. I haven't bought Nintendo since the Super Nintendo, outside of my kids owning some Game Boys and stuff, because Nintendo went in a direction I didn't like.
Yep.
Right? So we all have choices. But just think of the bigger picture. Step back out of your bubble for a minute. You don't have to stay there if you don't want to, but just take a step back, breathe the fresh air, and take a look at the big picture of where Microsoft and Xbox are going, because it is a bright future for the gaming industry as a whole. I know I would love it one day if we get to the point technology-wise where I can just log into my TV, sit down with whatever my preferred controller is, and I can hop from ecosystem to ecosystem without ever logging out, without ever changing apps, without ever doing any of that. I can go play the brand new God of War 5, whatever that's called. And then I can hop over to Halo Infinite, that's in its 8th year of living. I'm able to do that seamlessly from one device one controller. I would love that future. Maybe you don't want that future. I'm cool with that. I can hear it. But I would love that future because that means that all that content that I own is in one spot. And again, own is in quotations where, we could go down that rabbit hole. But at the end of the day, I would love to see that ability. So that's where we're coming from. That's what we're talking about here. These are the first steps. And if we are right, if we're not wrong about this, if we are right, all three of us here on this panel especially are excited about this. Mm-hmm. And that's why we're talking about it in this way. We're seeing the first steps of a transformation of an industry that has been the same for decades, that all three of us have lived through for decades. We're seeing some major transformation going on here that we've never seen before. And to me, that's a special time to be around, to be a gamer on top of all the content we get to play. So that's where we're coming from here. Didn't mean to go off on a tangent. I brought some of the Activision Blizzard in, but this stuff I understand. Again, people get wrapped up in these motions. I've been seeing it all day long.
It's been crazy. Absolutely
crazy. It has been crazy. Man. It has been. And it's, again, just been around too long, seen too many things. Again, Sega was my favorite. I had to watch them go away from this industry.
Yeah.
And to think back then, had something like this been around, Boom and Mav, that maybe Sega wouldn't have had to go the route that they did, right? Maybe they could have been on the forefront. Maybe they could have saved themselves.
They were at the forefront of a lot of things back then.
Correct. Maybe there would have been some way that Sega was still around to this day in the form that it was back then. They're still around, obviously, and they're coming back, but they never would have had to hit rock bottom, maybe, if this type of situation and the service was available at the time. So that's where we're coming from. Didn't mean to break into other stuff, but again, it's just kind of important because this is a big topic, man.
Well, let's get these super chats real quick, and then I want hear some more of Boom's thoughts as well. Shout out to Jerrold Mack, $5 super chat. Appreciate you, man. You're always awesome. He says, shout out to PM and the PM podcast. Salute Pong Soul, Mav7, and Mr. Broomstick. That's a shout out to my gamer tag there.
Nice.
Robert Hart, thank you for the $14 super chat as well. Super appreciate you, sir. Says, Pong, I feel like you addressed my comments. I still would like a go at giving you my perspective and counterpoints, but appreciate it, brother. Not in my feelings and still rocking on my Xbox. Yeah, I appreciate you, Robert Hart. That's awesome. Yeah,
it's not just you, Robert. There's been a lot of people today. Trust me, brother. Yeah. I did see your comments, but you're not alone in those feelings whatsoever. Yeah. And I get it.
And I gotta say, if I come across, I'm not trying to call everybody stupid, right? I'm just saying, like, I've seen a lot of really bad takes out there from some people that have been really aggressive and very negative and overdoing this thing that we're speaking about. We can all have a good conversation about it. But when you start like going after people, like saying I'm going to throw away my Xbox and all this kind of crazy stuff because somebody else gets to play Call of Duty, you know what I mean? Like that's crappy gamer stuff there, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But 100%. Anyway, just saying. All right, so we'll move on from that.
No, great conversation. And again, that was just the beginning, kind of opening salvo about the App Store, one of the pieces. So let's get into the dirt and get down and dirty with this thing and really kind of roll around. And we had a lot to talk about on Boom Show, but this is something that's not going to be going away. We're going to be talking about this through the acquisition and maybe even beyond, depending on what comes out of that acquisition, obviously. So again, for the people who are, again, I don't think anybody here listening to us, but maybe you don't know, there was quotes that came out from Microsoft directly. They had put in a blog post and it specifically said, hey, we know there's going to be a lot of questions from the regulators coming up, and we want to address some of those concerns. And then obviously they went on to state, explicitly. Now, some people say it's the same type of wording that they use for the ZeniMax deal. It kind of is, because they can't talk about this deal until it's closed. They don't have any control over Activision Blizzard. They can't talk about future deals because there are no future deals to be made. They don't own them yet. So they have to be very passive when they make these statements for legal reasons. And you can go watch Hogue Law. Hogue Law has an awesome videos on this exact deal. For anybody who doesn't know, Hogue Law, great member of this community. He is actually an attorney who does mergers and acquisitions. He's been on Boom's panel. He's been on Iron Lords. Look, he's everywhere right now. A lot of people are calling him on to talk about this stuff. He knows what he's talking about. Again, he's a mergers and acquisitions attorney. Go watch his videos on this. He explains it wonderfully. It's not attorney speak. You can understand it even if you have no idea how this stuff works. He does a great job at that. So go check out Hogue. But they can't talk about this stuff in specifics. They can't legally. It could cost the whole entire deal. Plus, with all these regulators, everything that Xbox, Microsoft, anybody from that company says out in public is being put into a file and will be under review when they go through this process. So there has to be a whole lot of safe zone stuff where we're just going to say some basics. But anyways, they had come out and said that we intend to put all Call of Duties out there. We continue to put Call of Duty onto PlayStation for the existing contracts and beyond those existing contracts. And I'm paraphrasing here, but that's what they stated. And they said, and then we had the interview with Brad Smith, who came out and said, quote, Microsoft will continue to make Call of Duty and other popular Activision Blizzard titles available on PlayStation through the term of any existing agreement with Activision. That commitment extends into the future too. And we have committed to Sony that we will also make them available on PlayStation beyond the existing agreement and into the future so that Sony fans can continue to enjoy the games they love, says Smith. End quote. That's pretty
self-explanatory in my
opinion.
Clear,
but, it's clear. It's clear. So
get into it.
So again, under everything, under the assumption here, boom, that Activision Blizzard deal goes through, it's completed. Right? The day it happens, everybody's celebrating. It's a big, momentous day for all involved. And they come out and clarify and say, we meant what we said. Call of Duty, Diablo, Overwatch 2, let's just say they list them off, are all going to remain multi-plat. They are going to remain multi-platform beyond even the existing contracts. We definitely intend to sign new contracts to continue to bring those games to PlayStation. And also we are now going to move forward and we want to make sure that Nintendo Switch is not left behind. We're going to attempt to put those games on Nintendo Switch as well. These are our future plans. But Xbox fans, we also got something for you. We're going to, we're going to be making games exclusively for Game Pass and for the Xbox ecosystem. So anywhere Game Pass is available, you'll be able to have access to these games. They'll be in there day and date. You'll be able to purchase them wherever you can purchase your Xbox content. Yep. We're going to have exclusive games there as well. Boom. Looking ahead to that day when that, again, I'm not saying that's going to happen the exact way, but we're looking to that day when the acquisition closes, right? And everything we know from all this other kind of signaling that Xbox and Microsoft are doing. What does the future hold at that point, boom, for you? When you look at this and you think about Microsoft and Xbox at that point and them now being on top of being a gigantic, one of the biggest first-party publishers, they're also going to be a third-party publisher in a lot more ways than we ever thought maybe just a month ago that they would be. What does that future look like to you, boom? What do you think?
Well, the future for me is people need to understand that we have to look past the tip of your nose. Everyone keeps seeing Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty. It's not about Call of Duty. That's not at the center of the crux of the conversation. So what if Sony players and Nintendo players could play Call of Duty, Overwatch 2, and Diablo 4? Who gives a flying? All right, if you are an Xbox player, it's going into your ecosystem where you play the most, and it's going to play the best. And guess what? You're probably going to you're going to be privileged to all of these perks. All the perks that Sony guys used to get from Call of Duty, well, that's not happening anymore. Those are going to go to Xbox, and Xbox is going to give it to you via Xbox Game Pass perks. And if the perks aren't enough for you, you're getting this game for $15 a month, plus a gazillion other games. But you see, that isn't where the story stops. It's actually where the story starts, because now, thanks to the way Microsoft does business, The 8 studios that were in development hell making only Call of Duty, well, they're going to be expanded with new personnel. They're going to allow their wings to flap, and they're going to spread, and they're going to say, Microsoft's going to say, hey, Raven Software, what do you want to do? Moon Studios, what do you want to do? Hey, listen, Toys for Bob, listen, we heard you a couple of years ago. You said you wanted Banjo-Kazooie. Guess what? Here's the IP. Go crazy. That's what's going to happen. And all of those wares are going to be exclusive. They're all going to remain exclusive because that's not part of, hey, we're taking Call of Duty away from everyone. Microsoft is doing everything right to get the deal done. And once it's done, you have to be deft not to see how much money would be left on the table if they pulled Call of Duty away. It doesn't make dollars and cents, folks. Take the emotions out of the conversation and be a realist, for Christ's sake. If this game is, it's the #1 selling game every year on Sony's PlayStation, regardless of how many of their first-party titles come out, how great and how big meta that they are. God of War, was it their #1 selling title? No, it was Call of Duty, right? Was it Last of Us 2? No, it was Call of Duty. So Microsoft is going to be making money hand over fist, but Xbox Game Pass subscribers, well, we're the wieners, right? Right, we're the wieners. We get to play for the price of our of $15 a month. And all the other games that are in there, your Fables, your
there's so many to name. Oh my God,
it's ridiculous. I mean, think about it. When Crystal Dynamics becomes first party, and I believe that deal is already done, that's my opinion, and they turn around and they say, hey, Secret Project, they're working on a new Pitfall that's like Uncharted. Right, the same team that brought you the best Tomb Raider in the history and Rise of the Tomb Raider is now reviving Pitfall Harry and making it to be a level of Tomb Raider / Uncharted. Do you think that Microsoft is going to be racing to put that on someone else's console? No, that's going to stay exclusive because they own the IP. So again, if your hang up is Call of Duty being on PlayStation, then you need to get a different hobby, because that shit is happening and there isn't anything you can do, and you can cry and you can whine and you can throw temper tantrums all you want. It ain't going to change the fact that this is a business, and at the end of the day, Microsoft is spending $70+ billion to get this done, and they're going to have to make their money back somehow. And having Call of Duty, the #1 selling game on PlayStation for at least 7 years running, well, there's your answer. I don't think I can make it any more simple, Pong.
Yep, I agree, Boom. Again, that's where I see things going as far as the reality of the situation. Again, the bigger picture, and I'll bring Mav into this. The bigger picture is that Microsoft and Xbox aren't looking the next 5 years. They're not even looking the next generation. Of course, they're working on the next gen after this current gen here, but they're not even thinking there. They're thinking 15, 20 years.
I would even dare say 25 years.
25 years in the future, right? They're thinking long term. They pay people a lot of money to be futurists and to sit around like this and to gaze into crystal balls.
They should pay Speculation Town mayors that kind of money, because we've been doing this for free for quite some time.
Exactly. And to see where this is going, right? This is what this is about, is the future and where tech is leading us. And again, you don't have to be happy about the future, because I'm going to tell you, if this continues the way we all think it's going and what it's aiming for, we're going to a non-physical world. Okay. It's going to be all digital at some point. And again, who wants to own the kingdoms, the entire kingdom that all the smaller little towns are in? Who wants to own that? Well, that's Microsoft. Microsoft wants to be the one that's supporting everybody, right? They want to be, because what that's going to mean, everybody's going to be paying tribute to Azure servers. Okay. That's the way Microsoft looks like this, right? Yeah. Now they want to be the nice guys, but they also know that Amazon could do this at the end of the day if they really want to. They're about the only other company. So they want to get ahead of the curve. They're already way ahead because of all the work they've done. But Mav, brother, the future, when you look at this, what do you see? Do you see Microsoft changing course in this matter? Do you see them maybe backtracking a little bit on the exclusives and saying, okay, look, we know what we said. We know what we said. But at the end of the day, we've really thought about it and we've ran some numbers and we really, okay, Call of Duty is going to stay, it's going to be multiplat, okay, Call of Duty, but it's going to go to a 2 to 3 year cycle, but we're going to keep some of these other ones for ourselves. Or do you see them following through with this and maybe even more in the future? What do you see, man? What do you think where this is headed?
I think it's a transition period. Right? I think we're going to be in this weird little limbo thing of guessing what games are exclusive and not exclusive after this deal goes through for a while. And it's going to, a lot of it may depend on the ambitions of multiplayer and how, what kind of scale these games are at. You remember PlayStation just announced that they're having 10 live service games coming out by 2026. Right? Jim Ryan said that they are going multi-platform in an interview that nobody is speaking on, that he actually said those words. Jim Ryan said we're going multi-platform. And then they followed up with we have a roadmap of how to do that, and Bungie's helping us achieve those goals. Right? It's not just Microsoft, guys. The landscape has changed, right? So we're in this transition period of like, how do we move from the traditional model that we've all been behind? Now tech is pushing us out of that. It's not just Microsoft pushing out, it's technology. When you have access to so many more people, because technology has made that possible now, now it's like, okay, well, why wouldn't we be selling this stuff to everybody instead of just the smaller, isolated ecosystem that's within the people that afford a $500 box, right? So it's going to be a guessing game for a while, like what's exclusive, what's not, right? So we know the ones that they already announced exclusive. I bet you most of the stuff that we know from Xbox Game Studio and first party stuff is going to be exclusive. Some of the biggest franchises from some of these other publishers are potentially going to be multi-platform. And I think over time, as this future unfolds, like again, I'm talking years away, right? Years away, as this future unfolds, then we're starting to see more of the thing, like once people are finally past the box themselves and have gotten that out of their head, right? Then I think at that point, it's more like people aren't even going to care, right? The conversation will be pointless at that point. Like, I don't think people will even be caring about having a conversation about that because they're just going to be used to accessing all these different games on multiple devices, and it doesn't really matter, right? So at that point, when we put ourselves in that position years from now, it just makes more sense to have the things on as many devices as possible. Right? So like, why not?
100%.
So that's the future. That's what's going to happen. Right? In my opinion, I could be wrong. We could revert and it could just stay back to like, okay, box, games on this box, games on this box, games on this box. And it could stay that way forever. They could just completely not go through with this. Who knows? Right? But it seems like everything that they have been saying has led us down this path. Ever since Phil Spencer took over and started making all those moves with Game Pass, cloud gaming, and now also this acquisition and the things that they're saying leading up to that. So that's the future that I see. Again, I could be wrong, right? But I think that's what's going to happen. We just got to get out of our, I see like, we only think 2 years, 3 years down the road because that's the games we get to play.
Right.
But think about what 2012 again to 2022. How much has changed? We're playing on our 360s then. Look at everything the Series X and with cloud gaming and all this stuff can do now. Did you foresee this in 2012? Nobody did. Our internet is way better than it was in 2012. Think about what it's going to be in 2022.
Yep.
Or, I mean, 2032.
Yep.
Right? I mean, so you can't really it's impossible to foresee that future. So we can only go by what they are telling us, which is usually kind of what unfolds. It's ways away, but it's what they're saying. And in the immediate future, here's what I got to say for Xbox fans. Man, there's a lot to be excited about.
Hell yeah.
Right? You got, oh my gosh. I mean, I did this video just looking at the projects that are coming. right? I couldn't even fit it into a video. I had to just go live because I was trying to make this video, and there's just too many damn games to fit into a video. I was like, man, I'll be editing this for like a century. Like, seriously, I mean, you got all of these games. It's insane. We got Perfect Dark. You got Double Fine's new game that Tim Schafer just commented on. You got the Coalition working on multiple projects. One of them's bound to be Gears 6 and Unreal Engine 5. You got World's Edge has like at least one partnered game with some other developer right now that we don't know about. You got the Steampunk first-person shooter RPG from inXile. You got a second project from inXile. You got the Minecraft potential spinoffs from Mojang. You got Hellblade 2. You got Project Mara. You still got Grounded, isn't even officially released yet. You got Avowed. Obsidian's working on even another project, and then they still got Outer Worlds 2. Then we move on to Fable. Then we move on to Everwild. Then we move on to Forza Motorsport. Then you move on to State of Decay 3. How about As Dusk Falls? How about Contraband? How about Starfield? How about Elder Scrolls 6? What about Deathloop and Redfall? How about
Indiana Jones?
Yes, that's on here too. Unannounced new IP from ZeniMax Online that's supposed to be huge. People are really excited about that one.
Game that's still unannounced.
Yep. Indiana Jones, Ghostwire Tokyo, the new game from the Evil Within 2 director, John Johannes. You got Roundhouse Studios is making something. Some people say it's Planet of the Apes. Who knows? You got Blizzard now, Overwatch 2, Diablo 4. You got this newly announced survival game that's going to be an Xbox IP. I mean, holy shit. Do we keep going? Yes, we do, because there's unannounced projects that just have project names. Certain Affinities, Monster Hunter type game. Project Dragon from IO Interactive. You got Project Shaolin, that Wu-Tang Clan based music, anime style thing that sounds badass. Project Belfry is supposedly a beat 'em up. Project PAX Day, which is like a grand strategy game. Killer Instinct is rumored to be in existence. Kojima's cloud-based game is rumored to be in existence. Project Bon again, we don't know what the hell that is. The 1 versus 100 revival, what about that? That's supposed to be coming. Project Velvet, don't know what the hell that is. And then Halo supposedly has another side project from 343.
You know something? I gotta
Are we
be honest with
upset
you.
about Call of Duty going to freaking PlayStation?
I'm gonna be honest with you, Meg. I'm disappointed. That's just not enough games. I'm sorry.
In Game Pass, all of this is in a service for $14.99 a month, and we're gonna be upset that somebody on a PlayStation gets to play Call of Duty.
Boom, are you free Thursday nights? I think I'm about to lose my co-host here. He might keel over after after all that. I might need you to step in.
But I mean, but he
Yes.
just, I mean, but
Yes.
yes. I don't think it could have been explained any better. Look at that amount of games, and that's what we know. We know for a fact that there's at least 6 to 10 other projects that have not been announced and that are going to be coming from all of the Bethesda studios. And now you bring, look, they have 34 studios after this deal goes through. 34 studios, and all 8 of them coming from the Blizzard, I mean, just from Activision alone, have all legacy talent. It's going to be, we are going to be eating good, as the kids say, for quite some time. And if you are that, I've seen people, wow, I'm just going to trade in my Xbox because Call of Duty is going somewhere else. Wow. Okay. Well, listen, trade your Xbox then, pal. What can I tell you? Go pay, $76.43, buy a PlayStation, go buy Call of Duty. What can I tell you?
Right. Exactly. Go. That's the thing. Everybody still has options and choices. If this is not the place for you, even if you've been a fan of Xbox, this has happened to me in my life. Even if you've been the biggest fan, if Xbox isn't going in the direction you like, you have choices. And I'm not telling you to get out by any stretch of the imagination, but that is your right as a consumer to get out of the ecosystem. You can criticize, you can complain about this, you can say that this is not the way I want it done. I understand there's been a lot of things in my life that I've done that exact same thing about, right? I've sat in armchaired sports teams, I've armchaired everything in my life and said, God, if I was in charge, I'd never do it that way. What are they doing over there? That is a right. The thing is, the future is different than any of us know about. We are trying to read the tea leaves, we're trying to look in the crystal ball and just kind of see where it's going. And at the end of the day, for me, when I look at this future, and I've already spilled a lot of it by talking about what I think the future is, I do see Xbox, Microsoft, leading this way. And again, remember, Phil is now CEO of Microsoft Gaming. That new title means something.
Yeah.
Okay. I see a future, I really do, where everybody, and I'm gonna blow some people's minds because this is a thing that everybody talks about. Well, why doesn't Microsoft just put all their games? Why doesn't Xbox put all their games on PlayStation? Someday, the kingdom is going to be owned by Microsoft, where everybody else has their little towns in it. Everybody's going to be a third-party publisher.
Yeah.
Everybody. We didn't even touch on the old comments from Phil when he was talking last year. They are currently actively working on cloud development so that developers are going to be able to create entire games within the cloud themselves, where it's not going to matter what piece of hardware you're using, because the cloud is going to be able to adapt that content.
To do all the heavy lifting.
It's going to do all the heavy lifting. That means indies to AAA developers will be able to make everything that they ever need to make in the cloud. And that is going to be able to go to any device that's attached to the cloud. Guess what? People are going to start publishing their stuff into the cloud, and it's going to be accessible for everybody. Yes, it's still going to be an ecosystem because you're still going to be buying from Sony, you're still going to be buying from Ubisoft, you're still going to be buying from whatever publisher is putting it up there. But it's all going to be contained in one kingdom where you get to log into and play.
And that's where I think that different scaling comes into play.
Yes.
They can use somebody else's tools, then put it in the cloud for the storefront,
they'll scale.
or they'll have like hosting on their servers for multiplayer. All these different aspects are probably going to change as exactly the revenue sharing.
Correct. And at the end of the day, Xbox is going to be the one leading. Microsoft is going to be the one leading this charge. It doesn't mean that they're going to be playing nice. Yes, it does mean they're going to be playing nice. Does it mean they're going to be playing nice with certain companies that don't necessarily deserve that hand? Yeah, they are, because they see the bigger goal at the end of the day. That future where everything changes, transforms into this one kind of metaverse, as Satya likes to call it. Again, metaverse can be used in so many different ways and so many people have. But Satya, I think his vision is that. And it's not going to just be about games. It's going to be about your music. It's going to be about your movies. It's going to be about your TV shows. They want to be there. So they are going to do things that maybe some of the fans don't agree with to get to that point. But at the end of the day, it's the bigger goal that's involved here. They're not about holding grudges. They're not about scorched earth and kicking people out of this industry. Phil said it himself. He trusts Sony. He trusts Nintendo to make sure they don't screw up this industry. He trusts those two. He doesn't trust anybody else. He doesn't want to see this stuff going anywhere else. And I think that's another part of the equation. I'm throwing my theory out there. I think there's been some high-level talks. And again, these guys talk. Everybody likes to think that this is real war, that there's generals on each side, and they never are speaking to each other. They're talking on a regular basis. I'm sure Jim, Bowser, and Phil are having regular meetings where they're talking about the state of the industry and moving forward, along with other big publishers like Take-Two, Ubisoft, EA, the big boys, the big players, about where this industry is going, what the future looks like. And I guarantee you that in those talks, those existential threats that Phil brings up almost every time he talks about this industry, the Amazons, the Tencents, the Googles, the unknowns, the people who don't have real knowledge. We saw it with Google. Let me just point this out as an example. We saw it with Google. They came in, they got scared, they dipped out. Guess what? They destroyed, they changed a lot of people's lives by bringing them in. And then a year later saying, we're out, shutting down studios, people are out of jobs.
Yes.
People would pick up their lives and moved to be at Google. Phil doesn't want that for people. Phil, call him Kumbaya Phil if you want. Call it. A lot of people see this as weak. I understand that. That's the wrong, in my opinion. You can have whatever you want to have as far as feelings. Again, but in my opinion, that's the wrong take here. They're being leaders. It may not be the way that you like it, but the end goal for them is the be all end all. And so they're doing what's necessary to get there. And Phil does not want this industry disrupted. He wants it to continue to flourish as we have seen lately. And he wants to continue to grow it. He wants to get to those 2 to 3 billion people that he talks about constantly. That's what this is about. And he wants to be able to have everybody that he trusts, and that's Sony and Nintendo, involved in that, and healthy and stable. He's not looking scorched earth. He's not looking to get Sony out of this business. He's not looking to get Nintendo out of this business. He wants to keep them around. He wants to include them in what their vision is. And I think that's what the future is here, folks. This was great conversations. Again, we all got kind of warmed up on Boom Show this morning. I talked about it with Boxburger this afternoon. Look at Mav has been fired up since day one.
I'm sorry.
He's ready to rock and roll. He had the list ready to rock and roll. He was ready to spew all the games we're getting.
Yeah, and he did a great job.
He did.
When you spell out the future for Xbox, and he went through 25 games.
There's more than that. No, there's more. I got it on his spreadsheet.
How could you be upset knowing that every one of those near 30 titles are going to be in Xbox Game Pass, and every one of those are going to be exclusive? People are all bent out of shape because Call of Duty. And you know what aggravates the shit out of me with a lot of these people that are talking now? I used to get my balls broken on a regular basis because I bought Call of Duty and never went multiplayer. Single player, I get my 6-8 hours. I'm good. I enjoyed it, whatever. Oh, why are you buying Call of Duty for single player? Listen, doesn't matter whether you're a multiplayer or a single player guy. The fact that you're going to be able to get this in Game Pass over having to pay full boat for it, I don't see what people are bent out of shape about. And again, when you there's another little tidbit. I don't want to go on a tangent because we're almost at 2 hours, but so I wasn't sure if it was you or if it was KhAos today that said that this deal, the way they're doing it, is they're not just doing it for this deal; they're doing it for the deal after.
Correct.
The deal after that.
That was my point. That's what this said to me, was there's more deals to come.
Because if you think that this is it, you are sadly mistaken. And I got news for you. Phil Spencer said in an interview, the minute they signed the deal with Bethesda, the board said, who's next? Who's next? The board wanted to know who they were buying next. So they're all in.
It's crazy.
Play nice now, win later.
Correct. Big play.
Just to clarify on the numbers, we are curious. There's 34 games that they have acknowledged are in development. Okay. Now the other 13 are either projects that have been tied to Xbox with rumors that we do know are in existence, but they have not actually confirmed that it's that. Like Project Dragon, IO Interactive on their website says it isn't. We have a huge new game in development, blah blah blah, with an exciting partner. They haven't said it's Xbox yet. Certain Affinities Monster Hunter game, we know that it exists as well.
There's 47 titles in active development.
47.
And somewhere in probably in the next 5 years, we should say. So that's 9.
Yeah.
That's like 9 a year.
Yeah, I would say 5 of those are more in the iffy rumor territory, right? So maybe like closer to like 40 to 42, like really, really concrete, really concrete titles, right?
Yep.
You put that into perspective of like 4 years away, right? And then this doesn't include anything that gets announced in that time that we don't know about, right? That's almost a game a month.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Correct. And that's their plans, and it's not going to stop. And again, these acquisitions, some of it's multi-plat. There's still going to be exclusives that come, so we can add more to that once this deal comes.
A lot of them.
We're going to get going. Right. That's how this is going to work. They're going to use a two-prong approach to this going forward. And some of it's going to be multi-plat, and some of it's going to be exclusive.
You know, it's also, here's something else that I never really thought about until seconds ago. All of this good guy stuff that we're changing everything and we're going to lead the way and all this stuff. Could you imagine if they're doing that because they want to close out deals for developers, not publishers this year? Let's say NetherRealm Studios, IO Interactive, Avalanche Studios. You pick Asobo. What if they add another 5 different studios to Xbox Game Studios on top of the 34 they're going to have? They're going to have almost 40. 40, 41, 42. Come on.
And this doesn't even include just exclusive Game Pass deals where they're actually just going to third-party pub games that are in development and saying, hey, come to Game Pass day one. That doesn't include any of that either. Like MLB The Show or any of these other games.
Correct.
Pretty insane.
Correct.
Right?
Yep. Absolutely.
I want to get to a couple super chats real quick before we move on, Pong. Outbreak Podcast. Dave, you're awesome, man. Thank you for the $2 super chat. He says, Mav, Pong, boom, you are on fire. Great conversation. Thanks, bro. Psychonauts. Brother, Psycho. who's traveling on the road right now. I hope your car is doing okay, man. He hit us with a $5 super chat. He says, yes, Mav, that's why I find it weird when everyone is upset about Call of Duty when Game Pass is getting like 50 plus games in the next 5 years. There's no power greater than X. And then thanks, Psycho. And then Dan Lazaro hit us with a $2 super chat. Says, you're getting trolls. Players don't care about this. Now, I would agree with most of that, but there are some people that I find surprised by their take on this a little bit. That I know are genuine and have, but they're not coming from, those guys aren't coming in from like a really toxic way. They're just like,
no, they're just upset.
Or they don't understand it. Right? Like, why would they do this? That kind of thing.
It's hard. It's changed. We went through this when Xbox decided to put their games day and date in PC, right?
Yep.
Boom bought it up. We had a lot of people that were upset, right? We had a lot of people that were really upset about that direction. And actually, left the community or went to a different direction, right? And again, you can say, well, maybe they weren't real fans at the beginning, at the end of the day, but realistically, people do get wrapped up in this stuff. We see it in sports, we see it everywhere else. There's fandoms, right? This is a real big thing for a lot of people, and they want to see their side win. And we already went through this once when they put it in day and date and PC, but now nobody even thinks about it anymore. Nobody. And now you got Sony doing the same thing, right? Nobody thinks about that anymore. It's not a big deal. When we say exclusive, we know that means to the ecosystem now, right? Yes. We change. A lot of this change happens. It's a slow process. It does take time for people to realize what's happening. And there's going to be bumps in the road. And there's going to be, yes, I will agree with this part of it. When they are able to speak out on this, when this acquisition goes through, and let me tell you one last little point about this acquisition and everything that Xbox and Microsoft is doing, they're trying to get that through this year. They're doing everything to make this as fast as possible. They don't want to wait until June next year. They want this done ASAP. So they're doing all of this to get this pushed through so they can move on with their plans they probably had in place before this Activision thing came up out of the blue. This was not something they
think about. The less they can do otherwise.
Correct. So they're trying to get this through with as little problems as possible, right? But at the end of the day, I do understand the people that when this gets pushed through, Microsoft and Xbox have to come out and have some really good messaging. And they've done really well with it recently, right? Over the past year and a half or so, we've seen some really excellent messaging. But they are going to have to clarify for their fan base, for their hardcore, their diehard fan base, they're going to have to clarify what this all means and kind of lay out the roadmap as far as what they're thinking so that we can all get a clear picture. Because right now, they're obviously, again, just look at the chats we've seen today. There's a lot of confusion, a lot of frustration in all of this. So they are going to have to fix that part of it. I do agree with everybody on that for sure. So that's another big step. Boom. How are you on time, sir?
I got 15 minutes.
You got 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Mav, you want to jump quickly into the Lord of the Rings and get Boom's on that?
I'm really curious. Yeah, I want to hear Boom's thoughts on this too, man. So that's cool. Yeah, Lord of the Rings is up for sale.
Yes. $2
billion.
Yeah, $2 billion is what they're throwing out there as the starting point, I think, at this juncture. But yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, suddenly we got the announcement through different various articles. Variety is the one that I read, that the Lord of the Rings IP, both the film and the gaming IP, is now on the block, up for official sale.
It's from Xantz Inc. It's like I guess some movie production guy or a company that they own the rights. So they've been licensing it out to game companies.
Like WB, right?
Like
a lot of people thought Lord of the Rings. So
this
exactly.
It's not a WB thing. It's not like a EA thing or any, because I've seen some confusion about that. But it's this is from Xantz. I think that's how you say it. Is actually has it up for sale.
That is correct. So it is up for sale, and they are estimating at least $2 billion. So boom. When you heard all this come out, like Lord of the Rings, this is a IP that has been around for over 100 years at this point. This is something that has lasted through the test of time, right? This is a valuable franchise to have control over.
Yes.
What are your thoughts, Boom? I believe there's multiple suitors going to be lining up for this. What do you think? Do you think anybody's the leader of the pack in this race to get Lord of the Rings? Do you have any inkling? What are your thoughts on this IP, this classic historic IP going up? What do you think?
Well, I have a strong suspicion that the suitor that is going to buy this, it's not even going to be a question, is going to be Amazon.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that is because Amazon paid a significant amount of monies to license out the IP. The new series is releasing later this year, and who better to own it than if they're going to continue Lord of the Rings, and they intend to continue it. So the next time they go to do the next trilogy, or they go to make exclusive films, let's say for instance they bring Peter Jackson back in and they tell what happens after the Lord of the Rings or before the Hobbit, which is what the series is going to be, they don't have to pay any royalties or right fees because they're going to be the owners. I hate to say this, and I'm not a millionaire, so what do I know? But $2 billion for a company like Amazon is a bit of a drop in a bucket. And when you consider the size of what Lord of the Rings is to the movie industry and what they currently have invested, see, that is the real kicker here. You can say Apple, you can say Hulu, you can say whoever you want to say, but actually Activision, Amazon, and Activision, so
Activision on the mind. Yes.
Amazon is literally working on a project right now for Lord of the Rings. So I guarantee you that you're going to see that will it get to a bidding war? Potentially. But I think that the suitor at the end of the day, it's going to be Amazon because they have a vested interest in keeping that IP for themselves because of their streaming service. And I think it's going to be a big deal. I'm a huge, Mrs. Boom and I are huge Hobbit and Lord of the Ring fans. And it would be, we can't wait for the new series because obviously this is thousands of years before actually Lord of the Rings. So we're going to learn a lot of maybe the first war with Sauron. And I can't wait to get into that. But like I said, I think it has to be Amazon just because of their current involvement with the series right now. And I think there's no better place for it.
Perfect. My point with Amazon is it'll be, if they do get it, be a real first test to see how people like the idea of an IP like Lord of the Rings being owned by Amazon, not just the movie rights, but the gaming rights.
New territory.
When that first Amazon published, produced, developed Lord of the Rings game goes exclusive to Luna and PC.
Oh, well, you have to get Luna, what
right,
do?
Right. But that's what I'm saying. That's what we've been talking about, right? Who else would you like to own this stuff if it's not going to be Microsoft, if it's not going to be Sony, it's not going to be Nintendo? Who out of these tech companies do you actually want owning and trusted with these legendary IP? And this is a big one right here for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mav, your thoughts. What do you think, brother?
Yeah, I could see Boom's thing. I could make a case for like 5 or 6 different companies, really. You could see like Netflix if they could afford it, trying to do it. You see Amazon for sure. That makes a lot of sense, right? So I'm going to look at it selfishly for my own personal gain. Okay. What do I want to see? And there's 2 scenarios that I think would work out really well for me. Now, one is Disney, which has some caveats there because you got to worry about what they'll do with it, right? How Disney-fy it will they do? But they've been doing great with the TV shows lately as well. But here's the cool thing. Disney, what they're doing with the licensing out the Star Wars IP and Indiana Jones and all these things to all these different game developers. So for me as a gamer, if Disney did acquire it, there would be potentially a wide variety of games being made by a bunch of different developers based on the Lord of the Rings license.
That's true.
So that would be really cool. I'd maybe get the RTSs again. I could get the big fantasy RPGs. You could get all different kinds of stuff if Disney did it. Because how many Star Wars games are there in development right now? Like 5 or 6, right? All different kinds. So that would be really cool. Or the other bonus is, like I've said on Fun Pop last night, if Disney bought them, we may be able to get Lord of the Rings world at Disney World, right? So we get to go visit and stay at the Shire Hotel You know what I mean? And live in the grass mounds of New Zealand like atmosphere, right?
That's
you know,
awesome. I never
yeah,
thought about
dude.
that.
And you know, I mean, I was joking. Jasper's giving me crap about it, like, but they'd have to hire like hobbits, you know, but there's no hobbits, so they would have to hire kids to work in the park. You know what I mean? So you have
What?
like
Child labor?
Child labor.
Whoa.
Yeah,
We're not.
Maybe they'll
PM
have
and
to
the
open
PM
it.
does not promote child
No,
labor.
not at all.
Just everybody.
No, then maybe they open it in like a different country somewhere.
This is not
more
Nike,
lenient.
people.
No, I'm just
Okay,
I'm
look.
kidding. No, I'm kidding. They're volunteers. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding.
That's even worse. Oh my god.
Okay, so for real though, like Disney, I can make a lot of good cases for it. It's just you got to worry about the movies and stuff that they'll potentially do and like how will they handle it. But Disney doesn't own something like Lord of the Rings, right? They own a lot of stuff. They own a lot of really cool stuff and a lot of IP and stuff. But Lord of the Rings is like checks another box for them, right? So I could see it happening.
Yeah.
Movies, TV shows, games, everything.
Well, they could use it to put its stuff on Disney Plus. I mean, that's,
100%. Yeah, that's 100% what it would be about, right? And then I look at the weird one is kind of people be like, this is strange, you know, might be Microsoft, but this would be a step in a different direction for them towards that new diving into other media, right? They're licensing out Halo, right? For that TV show. I don't know exactly how the all came together, but I know it's like Showtime produced and all this kind of stuff. So they're already starting to dip their toes in that water. You know, if you did want to dive out there, you got Obsidian, you got Bethesda, you got ZeniMax Online, you got some of these great teams. You got what's the RTS team again? I just named them a minute ago. Yeah, World's Edge. You got all these great groups, and you could do some amazing things with that IP if you chose to. But when I think about it, you know, as far as only IP, Xbox acquiring just IP, it's happened only with like big gaming franchises that they've had relationships with, like Halo and Gears of War and those kind of things, right? So I don't know if that would be a thing they would want to do, and that goes for Amazon too. You know, Amazon hasn't run out there and bought like a huge IP like that before. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to see what happens. So that's why I think Disney like is the easier choice because it's been done. That's what they do. You know. Yep. It's Star Wars, they're Marvel. I mean, this is what they do. They did all the Fox, you know, they got all the Fox content on there. So Disney makes a lot of sense, but man, I would love to see just this Microsoft thing happen just because it would be really interesting and crazy. Or Disney, so I can go to stay at the Shire. One of the other.
I like staying at the Shire thing. That's
that would be amazing. So real quick, and we'll get everybody out of here because Boom's definitely got to go. It's late for him. But look, real quick. Disney is the leader of the pack for me as well, Mav. If it's not Microsoft, I think Disney. As I sat back and thought about it,
that's funny. I didn't even think Disney. It's crazy. I didn't even think Disney. It just makes so much sense with everything they're doing. Mav just laid it out perfectly. Disney Plus, huge for that. They're doing all this great stuff elsewhere now that they've reopened up the game licensing again. Perfect spot for that as well. So Disney just makes so much sense. This is going to be a bidding war. There are going to be suitors lined up for this. You think it winds up ending up it's $5 billion? Or something
I think when at the end of the day I said it. Look, what did Disney pay for Star Wars? What did they pay? 3? Was it? They pay $3 billion, I think, total.
Something like that. Was a few years back too.
Yeah, that was years back. IP is so valuable, and I talked about this. IP that transcends one type of media is becoming more and more
and
valuable.
Generations, for that matter,
and generations. But an IP that you can use in movies, TV, books, video games, you can use everywhere is so highly sought after right now because of the way that the entire entertainment industry is going. And I think that when this is all said and done, we scratch our heads and go, wow,
Sony
that's
could do it
a
too.
lot.
Sony could do it.
Sony could do it and use it again across all their different platforms as well, movies, all that kind of stuff. Sony could definitely be in it. That's why I think this price goes way up. I'd love to see Microsoft, just like Mav said, if internally they are thinking about the future and they want to hop in the entertainment industry as a whole, which again, don't forget people, the Xbox One generation to start off, they had created their own studios. Everybody kind of points to that and says, well, that's why they got out of it. They're not. No, Phil had to cut that out because that wasn't in the works when Phil took over. Phil could not justify keeping that open when he was trying to stop a ship from sinking, and he had to focus on gaming. If they're thinking about trying it again, boy, would the Lord of the Rings be awesome to get right now for that future when they jump back in on top of the gaming IP as well. So those are my thoughts, but I definitely think Disney's the front runner here. This has been a fantastic show. Awesome discussion here. I know all of us kind of agree in the same direction, but it's great to hear everybody's points, even though we got a double dose of Boom today. So we already kind of knew where Boom was at with this, but it's great to have him here on PM to PM and go through this again and kind of look into the future. Chat, again, guys were all amazing. We only had a few people in there that had to be kind of kicked out a little bit, but everybody else, even if you disagreed with us, I appreciate the discussion. And you understand that all of us here, that's what we're about. Even if we, at the end of the day, say we agree to disagree because we're coming from two different perspectives, that's okay. But I love having the voices in the chat, even if it's different, even if you don't agree with us, because understanding that this community is made up of a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds with a lot of different interests, likes, and feelings about what's happening in this gaming industry, which is the hottest industry in the world right now. There's a lot to talk about. We're going to continue to talk about this stuff, but I appreciate every single one of you. But Boom, it was an absolute honor to have you here, sir.
Thank you, sir. Again,
nobody better in this community to talk about this stuff with. You have done so much good stuff. Again, we gave you your praises. You deserve more of them. Mr. 10K at this point. Look, brother, get yourself out of here. If anybody doesn't know about you, which I don't think is possible right now, but if anybody doesn't know about you, let them know where they can find you, what you got going on, and let's get you out of here.
And one more thing real quick, Boom. On your outro here, that where you're telling us all these awesome things, just give me a 1 out of 10 on the Nintendo Direct. Just I need to score.
I give it a high 8.5.
Nice.
High 8.5. I thoroughly listen. I'm a big nerd, okay, and that had a lot of really cool things. But the most exciting thing was Wii Sports is coming back. Yes.
Yeah. Excited so about that. Gonna get out your Wii chucks.
Oh my God, I'm so excited for Wii bowling. And you know what? Listen, I loved Wii golf. I used to sit there and just it's so nice. It's I was like, why did it take so long? But they're finally bringing it back. So a strong 8.5 out of 10 from me. Listen, folks, this has been great. I love working with Pong Soul and Mav. I think these are two upcoming superstars that are going to see their channels explode because they deserve it. They're honest. They do the work. They're fun to hang out with. They're fun to listen to because I listen to their shows all the time. Listen, I'm Mr. Boomstick XL. I run Double Barrel Gaming. Mrs. Boom and I, we do it together. She runs the stuff behind the scenes. I do the obviously the podcasting of the channel. Check us out, Double Barrel Gaming. We're closing in on 10.3 now, which is amazing. We just hit 10K a couple weeks ago. And if you want to reach out to me and strike up a conversation, at Mr. Boomstick XL, DMs are open. I answer everyone unless you're an a-hole and then you don't get an answer. But for the most part, I try to talk to everybody. Again, this is the platform, very much like Microsoft's ideology, is very inclusive. Everyone is welcome. Everyone, it doesn't matter race, creed, color, sexual orientation, religion, it doesn't matter. You're a gamer and you want to hang out. We welcome you with open arms. That's what the channel was built on, and that's what it will continue to be. Even if I hit 1 million subs tomorrow, I'm still going to be the same dude. This is how I was in uniform. This is how I am on the air. And thanks so much for having me, guys. I loved it. This is great.
It was amazing, Boom. Yeah. Amazing to have you here, brother. Glad you could join us for sure. So thank you again, sir. And we will be definitely seeing you real soon.
I'm already working on. I'm already working on Tuesday's show. If you could believe it.
Yeah. Of course. I know. I believe you work in your sleep. Boom. I believe you wake up and say, hey, I just had a dream. Let's write this down.
I've gotten up to write stuff down. You're not lying. Yeah, You're exactly. Not lying.
I knew how you work, man. So that's awesome, Boom. Can't wait to get to next Tuesday and join you again. Maybe something else big will happen. We'll have another special show. Who knows,
absolutely.
Right?
Jeez. Maybe Microsoft will acquire me. Hey.
Maybe.
Let's go.
Hey, KhAos ThEory said it, and I said I'm for sale, so don't worry about it. Mav, great show, brother. Awesome time with you. Again, we've talked a lot today together, which is great, man. We haven't been able to game for a while. So look, great to see you, sir. Awesome show. Thank you for doing all the behind the scenes stuff. I love you. You know that, brother from another. So tell everybody what you got going on the Fun Speculation Kingdom. What's happening next, brother? What do we got?
We got lots of fun, lots of speculation here on Fun Speculation.
No.
Yeah, we're trying to look into the future and predict what's gonna happen, having fun doing it. You know, like we're gonna have a blast tomorrow on Xbox Ultimate, 9 p.m. Eastern. Saturday, we're going to have a blast on FSP at 6 p.m. Eastern because we're doing multiple shows. You know, I got a lot to live up to with Boom here, you know, making, all these shows are so awesome and stuff. So we're trying to have a fun network type thing here, positivity and fun. And we're going to have, we got Fun Pop on Wednesdays. Also, streaming games, guys. Love doing it. I love when you guys show up and hang out with me when I'm playing. But tomorrow morning, or not tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, I'm going to be on Circle podcast.
Oh,
with
nice.
the Game Circle podcast with KhAos ThEory and Everborn.
Oh, you're going against me and Steel.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I see how it is. I see how it is.
You know what? They invited me and you didn't. Okay? You've had
we don't have guests.
Plenty
we haven't
of
had
opportunities. Guests. You know, it's okay. You know, they invited me. You know, I'm there for KhAos ThEory and Everborn
joking.
anytime.
Just joking.
You know, I love those
we
guys.
We love KhAos ThEory and Everborn.
So check out Saturday morning. I'll be hanging out with them, but also check out Living Split Screen. That's a 2-tab thing, right? So
2 tabs. That's what I used to do.
I go back and forth all the time.
Yep.
I go,
that's the way to do it.
Chat. I do it. Listen, and then what I do is I re-listen when I'm cleaning. I listen to you, and your show was so long. I cleaned literally the whole house. I was
just gonna say we got your week covered. Boom.
It was good. It was good.
And what about you, Pong? What about you, Pong?
Yes,
Soul?
Sir. Awesome night. Pong Soul, Xbox, Twitter, you know the drill. Again, chat, thank you for coming out and supporting us all the time. Love you all, no matter what your opinion is, no matter what you game on. Again, just thank you all for being here and listening to us. Never thought we'd be here, right? None of us, this wasn't what we all thought we were going to do, is dreaming of this, right? But we're here and we love having the audience. So thank you all for being here. Brothers, it's been great. Pong Soul, Xbox, Twitter. Obviously tomorrow night, as Fun just said, over on Fun Speculation, the Great 8. We'll see how many of the Great 8 are there, but we will be over there on Xbox Ultimate. Saturday morning, Living Split Screen, as Mav and Boom just said, 2-tab it with the Circle podcast, please. But be there, Living Split Screen in the morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Myself, my brother from another, Steel Rain, over there. 4.5 hours last week, something around there, 3 hours plus. You're guaranteed. Obviously, this week, who knows? We'll see what happens. We're going to have some rants in there, guaranteed. We're going to wake you up. We're going to give you the energy you need. So drop on by Living Split Screen. We are on mission 1K. So bring a friend, show them. If you like it, sub. You know, that's all we're asking. So, but we'll see you Living Split Screen Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Shop Podcast, PTK Blam, and Fuzzy and myself. And PTK always has awesome guests there. So join us Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Central Time. It's a great way to end your Saturday night. So just come on by, listen for a bit. Tuesday, be back at it. Xbox Factor Podcast, Mr. Boom's Double Barrel Gaming, as he said, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. Otherwise, this is the golden age of gaming. My God, like I said, this feels like 6 months worth of news in the past month. This is crazy time, but we are having a great time. It is the golden age of gaming. This is why we're so passionate about all this stuff, why we love it. Play what you love what you play. I'm going to talk to you all real soon. See you later, folks.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.